Hello and welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman, and on this episode, it's one of our Here Are My 3 Keys of Success episodes. My guest today is a man who has an amazing practice. He's a second-generation chiropractor. He's in his 29th year of practice, as you'll hear. He just moved into a building about 3 years ago that he owns that has 5,300 square feet of office space. His office sees 1,000 people a week with 4 chiropractors, 2 CAs at a time. He has a physical therapist, a physical therapy assistant, a nurse practitioner in the office, 5 massage therapists, and 3 people working the front desk to get it all done. An amazing practice, and I hope you enjoy my interview with Dr. Rick Markson. Hello and welcome to Secrets of My Success, part of For the Love of Chiropractic podcast series. On each episode, I'll be interviewing one highly successful doctor or business person, asking them what are their 3 keys of success or secrets they've used to make themselves so highly successful. So let's get started with today's show. I have on the phone with me today one of my dear friends, one of my previous personal coaches, one of my personal heroes. I have on the phone Dr. Rick Markson, speaking to him from his office in Florida. Rick, are you there?
I am.
It is a
and I appreciate the time. I'm loving it.
Oh, man, it is a pleasure to get you on the phone because I know how busy you are. So before we dig in, help me and tell everybody a little bit about your practice.
So I literally last week had my 29th anniversary in practice.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I started out as a chiropractic kid. A lot of people know my dad, Larry. And what they may not know is not only was Larry in practice for all the years, but Larry's twin brother was a chiropractor as well. So I grew up as a chiropractic kid. So I've known since I'm 6 years old that I was going to be a chiropractor. I've told that story from stage many times.
Amazing.
That I had an experience where one of Larry's patients got down on one knee and put his hand on my head and looked at me in the eyes and said, "Your dad in chiropractic saved my life." And from that point on, I knew I was going to be a chiropractor.
Wow.
So after going to undergrad, I went straight to life in Atlanta and Marietta and came right down to Florida. And here I am 29 years later.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we're going to get into some of the specifics, but tell me what makes your office unique.
Well, it's so funny because as we speak, I'm wearing 2 hats. I'm wearing the hat as a chiropractic coach and stage performer and stage speaker. And I'm also speaking from the aspect of being in practice all these years, still in the game, still running from room to room, saving lives with my bare hands and removing nerve interference. So I'm going to answer it from the being in practice, still in the game kind of perspective.
Perfect.
And I'm going to say, I know a lot of chiropractors like you do, and all of our practices are so unique. I'm not going to say that my practice is any more special for any other reason than the energy field that we've created inside these 4 walls is insane in all of the best ways. We created a team of people that love each other, that love helping, that love serving, that love healing. And we don't love it every day. We don't love everybody equally. We don't love insurance paperwork, but we love each other. We serve people, and we've created a family. And if I'm going to spend X amount of hours out of my life each day, each week, I'm going to only do that with people that I love. And for that, it doesn't feel like work ever. In 29 years, showing up at this place has never felt like work.
That is freaking awesome. I love that. So I got to dig right in.
Sure.
The title of the podcast are the 3 keys of my success. What would you say your first key is, or did you already discuss it with your team?
Okay, so let's say that I could expand on the fact that I would say creating a team, and I don't want to use the cliche of starting your dream team, but I would say even before that comes a crystal clear vision.
Love it. Tell me.
What we see is, because I knew what I wanted to create in my mind's eye since I was a kid, it was very easy for me to just have the picture already painted and just make reality look like the picture in my head.
I love that. That is freaking awesome. And you're right. I saw the same thing in my practice, but you're right. Having that vision, knowing what it is you're creating, as opposed to just wandering, from area to area, thing to thing. I don't know what comes next. Having known you for all these years, I know you know.
Right. And as well, it doesn't mean that your vision doesn't change from time to time.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
My practice doesn't look like it did 29 years ago. 29 years ago, I was a single practitioner in a practice that I had purchased, that the guy before me was seeing 35 visits a week for 3.5 years. That's as high as he ever got. And that's how I started. I remember we saw 171 visits in our first month. And, now it's 29 years later and it looks different, and it's a different building and it's different players, and maybe I'm the same, but the crystal clear vision of adapting and changing, and your interests change, and strengths and weaknesses change, and the marketplace changes, and reinvention, I think, is just critically important. So as you evolve, you make sure it evolves, and therefore it stays fun, it stays interesting, it stays exciting, and it stays ahead of the marketplace.
That is, everything you just said is absolutely golden. I am so glad we are recording all of this for everybody. So vision is the first key. Tell me about the second key of your success.
So if crystal clear vision is first, and I know who I am, which is self-awareness, I'm going to give that in the second spot. And the reason why I think self-awareness is so key is because I can tell 20 different chiropractors, here's the magic textbook of chiropractic success. And we can all 20 docs can use the same scripts and the same forms and have the same techniques and the same technologies and the same marketing. And those practices are going to get 20 different results based on who the doctor is. And I think the ability to know who you are, know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you need to work more on, what you need to work less on, I find that helps the evolution of the doctor, and therefore the practice grows as a result of the doctor working on his or her weaker areas and turning them into strengths.
So let me ask you a question, because you hit some really fascinating stuff just now. If it's the doctor's self-awareness is so freaking important, and you talk about the practice that you bought was seeing 30 30 people a day, whatever it was,
30 a week.
30 a week. So we know that the average chiropractor sees about 100 people a week, and it's not 100 people that because that's 3 times a week. So it's about 30 people a week, and which makes 100 visits. So can a doctor who's seeing that grow?
I love that. I mean, that's why years back, Brett Axelrod and I started Chiro Destiny, is what we hated. The thing that keeps me up at night, even more so than sick patients, was unhappy chiropractors. It freaked me out, and it kept me up at night. Watching people go to school, the same school that I loved, and go into a profession, the same profession that I've loved, and not find success and not find happiness. And therefore, we started really looking at how to help these people grow and starting to help them understand who they were and create that level of self-awareness. Absolutely was the key to growth. And we saw people for all these years double their practices, triple their practices, get out of debt, get into new happy relationships, leave old sour relationships, turn around their physical health, turn around the relationship with their children, travel the world, get into shape, enjoy life again. So we could use the word growth just on the practice standpoint, but growth is about every aspect of life. personal, professional, spiritual, financial, educational, all the things. And so the long-winded answer is abso-freaking-lutely. You can grow based on learning what you know about who you are.
So what is the first thing you say to that person that, on this podcast is being listened to literally around the world, 5 continents, over 400 cities, over 20 different countries. What is it you want to say to those doctors who aren't successful yet? Where do they start? What's their first step?
I love what you just said. I love not successful yet, because success and failure, it's not a reality. It's just, it's a momentary state of being that's ready to be changed at any moment. So, for anyone who is missing out or not as successful as they want to be in any aspect of life, first, it starts with telling yourself the truth, right? And then it's about, how do I get personal power? I mean, Tony Robbins literally became who Tony Robbins is based on this exact thing, is turning on your personal power, making different choices, figuring out, who am I? What do I want? When do I want to buy it? What action steps am I going to do to get there? How do I make distinctions? How do I gain help and resources from the people around me to help me turn my goals into realities? That's where it's all coming from. So let's say you're saying, okay, my practice isn't as big as I want. Okay, is that because of action steps, or you know what to do, but you aren't doing it, right? And if you know what to do but aren't doing that, that's where we start. We start from creating and chunking down goals and creating action steps based on those goals that those people have the capability of, baby step by baby step, creating a new reality for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So, okay, so we started by talking about vision and how incredibly important that is. And then we talked about self-awareness, which became, you just gave the keys to everybody and every chiropractor in the world to get everything they want. I don't know if you realize that.
There you go.
So what's the third key for you in your world?
For me, it's about having the people around you necessary to help turn the vision into reality, because I don't feel like you could do it alone. I feel like you need people around you to buy into your vision to help you get there. Right? You're not building the pyramids one brick at a time by yourself.
Now,
right? So big monumental goals require enough energy from a team of people helping you get there bigger, stronger, faster. So, and for me, now you're starting to talk about personality types and Enneagrams. So for me, as a self-awareness piece, I know that my most important thing is people in my life. So what I did is created a team or a family of people around me that make me happy.
So now I gotta zero in on this. When you say create a team of people around you, mm-hmm. that help to make you happy, are you talking about just your coworkers?
No, I don't think it's ever. Sorry, I don't think it's ever just that. I think if you're looking from family and friendships and personal relationship and children, that's all it's all concentric circles, right? So that is your core group. That's your core, closest, tight-knit people that want to hold you up to the light. And then you have the next circle outside of that, which are the people that you work with, or the people that you learn from, or the seminars you go to, or the coaches you hire, from the business aspect. And maybe you have a circle that's your financial team, and maybe it's your legal team, and maybe it's your chiropractic clinical team, and maybe it's your mastermind group, or maybe it's other chiropractors. So I think there are these little subgroups of people in your life that help serve certain purposes that as a whole help to give you the fuel necessary to keep going.
What are your thoughts on having people around you who constantly rib you and, oh, it's all in good fun, but you're a piece of dirt.
Well, again, I'm all about people and I'm all about fun. So I probably have a longer fuse about that kind of stuff than most people because I don't take anything personally. I think it's all kind of funny.
Right.
But again, if you know you, and, I say all the time, like, you couldn't offend me. Like, you couldn't offend me if you tried, right? So I'm sure you've all had this. A patient comes in and you're doing your initial consult and they say, well, I never thought I'd be in a chiropractic office. I think chiropractors are quacks. I love that.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
when that happens. Now, there are other people that are going to just react immediately. What are you talking about? You're insulting me in my office. Get out of here. And I see that as such an opportunity. That person felt comfortable enough to tell you their feelings. And now I can say, I'm so glad you told me that. Now the ice is broken. You and I are going to get along fine because we could be honest with each other. Tell me what your experience was in the past that made you think that way. Because now my job is about helping to educate them as to what chiropractic is and isn't, and not getting my feelings hurt about them being honest about their concerns or fears or misdirections or misgivings about what they thought chiropractic was or wasn't.
Exactly right. I also love when someone says something negative like that, especially about chiropractic, and it's like, "Ooh, tell me what happened." I mean, I want to hear their experience, and they are happy to unload it.
Yeah,
because once they unload it, then they're ready to listen about why you're different.
Well, that brings up a great point, because if you want to ask me, one of the big mistakes that chiropractors make is they keep trying to pour more information into these people's brains, and sometimes their brain is already filled.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to empty a little bit out before you try to fill it with new stuff so it doesn't spill out the top.
That's a great analogy. I love that. So this has been absolutely fantastic, and I've got to ask you two more questions that sort of switches gears on us.
Sure. Hit me.
So how do you define business success?
Well, I would say most people automatically would say income. I don't necessarily feel that way. My answer back in the day would have just been patient volume in chiropractic.
Okay.
Because that means you're serving the community and serving the masses. And what I realized after a while is I was a little naive, because there were a lot of people seeing high volume and not making a living, and they were going out of business, giving it all away for free. So business success is not as simple as just saying profitability. Let's go back to what we said originally. It's having a crystal clear vision of the entire business. That is the processes, the systems, the team, the hours, the days, what we do in this office, the techniques, the technologies. And then from a business standpoint, what are our expenditures? Do you know your numbers? What is our profitability? Are we hitting the numbers that we want to hit? What you may know as KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. Mm-hmm. Am I hitting my goals? Am I hitting all these numbers? So I would say business success, knowing your numbers and doing whatever it takes to hit them and exceed them.
Fabulous. And as I talked about on previous podcasts, and our listeners probably know this, there's an entire episode called The Business of Business. Because whether you're talking about chiropractic or a restaurant or an oil change facility, business is business. You're taking care of customers in some way, shape, or form with some sort of system, procedure, and model.
Yep.
All right. So then my last question, my good friend, how would you define personal success?
Well, that's easy for me to talk about right now because I got married 19 days ago.
And huge congratulations.
Thank you, buddy. I got married on New Year's Eve. So personal success, I think, is, to me, based on the wheel of life balance, right? So for those of you who are not familiar, if you take a circle and you create spokes on the wheel and you say, okay, I have personal success and financial success and business success and travel and health and spirituality and marriage and kids and relations. You could have 100 different spokes. It doesn't matter. and then rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. Where am I in all these different aspects of my life? If you're making a ton of money, so your finances are great, so you're a 10 out of 10 in finances, but your marriage stinks and you're a 2 out of 10, you're out of the wheel of life balance. So how personally happy and successful can you really feel? So I think, again, it's about awareness. It's about an inventory of all of the different aspects of our life along that wheel of life, and saying, what do I need to do? What do I need to work on to get to be as close to a 10 out of 10 in all of them? And I believe that's possible. There is really a host of lack of understanding, especially from the younger generations right now, that if you're successful at work, you have to sacrifice your personal happiness. Or if you work, then you don't have enough time to raise your family, or all of this like balance in life. That's not what we're talking about. This is more about spinning plates. This is more about learning to expand your influence on all of the different aspects of your life so you can equally spend time and energy towards turning them into a 10 out of 10.
Personal power.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, that is absolutely beautiful. I love that. Rick, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this interview tonight. Again, I know you just got married, 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm sure that your lovely bride is saying, where is my husband?
I'm hoping dinner's on the table.
Again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and you're one of my heroes.
And you are one of mine. And to all of your listeners, I hope they recognize how lucky they are to not only be grasping the wisdom from you and the guests that you bring into, but it's creating just more energy around this amazing profession where people are still disillusioned and they're a little frustrated as to what we've become. And I hope this is doing something to get people to understand how amazing chiropractic is. And we have the possibility and the potential to be as strong as ever.
Absolutely. Dr. Rick Markson, thank you so much for joining me.
I love you, buddy. My pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.